Excellent. Okay. You got 56 minutes.
All right. So how did you how did Crocs the Group come to be and how did you get involved with it?
Yeah. So, boy, let's see this. We're rewinding the clock a lot here, aren't we? I'm not sure what year it is. You probably remember better than me. I think it was like 2004, 5. Is that right?
They came out in 2005, so it could have been like 2004 or so. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how fast they make the.
Right. So, yeah. So I started at the Walt Disney Company in the 90s. I worked on movies like Pocahontas, Hunchback, Mulan, Tarzan. I was in the cleanup animation department. And, I always thought I just wanted to work on characters. That's what I love to do. One day they put up a sign in the studio. They were looking for voiceover temp people. While we were making Mulan, the actors that did the voices for the movies were in LA. And I was in the studio in Orlando, in Florida, at what was then called the Disney MGM Studios. And they put up a sign that they were looking for anyone in the animation studio who could do voice work, because when they weren't getting Eddie Murphy to do the voice for Mushu, or Ming Na Wen, or Miguel Ferrara, or any of these actors, Donny Osmond, BD Wong, they would get temp dialogue from people in the studio. So you had to audition for it. So I auditioned and they cast me as the temp voice of Shan Yu, the villain, right?
Yeah.
I still remember doing a couple of those lines. My kids love it. Let me see. One of them was, "A little girl will be missing her doll. We should return it to her." That was one. And then my favorite one was, "How many men does it take to deliver a message? One." You remember the scene,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So I love that experience. And what I loved about it is, while I was in there, and Tony Bancroft and Barry Cook, the directors of Mulan, they were directing me in the same fashion that they would anybody, any actor. And I remember like that light switch going off for me, that I want to be a director. That's what I want to do. I don't want to draw anymore. I want to draw to communicate ideas, but I want to wear the hat of a director. That's what I did when I was a kid. As a matter of fact, when I was 11, I saw the movie E.T. That's what inspired me to want to even be a filmmaker. So I got that bug again of wanting to be a director. Eventually, I did become a director at Disney. The first movie, me and my co-director, my best friend Elliot, we were directing together. We directed Winnie the Pooh Springtime with Rue. That was our first movie. And it was a big success for the company. And then we were looking at what our next movie was going to be. They offered us a couple projects. They were developing a Tinkerbell movie. I wasn't into that. Later on, years later, I would go on to direct Tinkerbell, or at least help develop it. But at that point, that really didn't interest me. So eventually, what happened is, one day we got called into the executive's office, and she said, "We really need your help." She said, "Saul and Elliot," that was my directing partner, "you guys are our strongest directors right now. We have a movie that is in trouble. It's failing." The movie was a year in making this movie. There was a huge team, millions of dollars were spent, different director. And she basically said the words to us, I'll never forget. She goes, "We're going to shut down this movie and not make it unless you can tell us that it's salvageable. You tell us if it's salvageable, and then we'll make it." So Elliot and I look at the movie. We look at the animatic, right? All the storyboard shot in sequence. We look at the script. We look at the production design. By the way, we had Colin Stimson, who was the original art director of the films. He returned on this film. We had some great people. Mary Locatel, another art director working on it. Great people. But the project really was in trouble. The humor wasn't working. The story wasn't working. One of the main things you ask when you're looking at a movie, any movie, live action or animation, is, do I care about the main character? Am I rooting for that character? And if you don't have a strong want for a main character, you're just not going to be invested. So we looked at it and we go, you know what? I think we can save this movie. We came up with scenes to interject to fix the movie. One of the things we couldn't do is, we couldn't look at the movie and go, you know what? Here's how the entire movie should be rewritten, because they didn't have the budget for that. And I always say, like, sometimes a movie is like a sinking ship. you don't have time to redesign the ship. Sometimes you have to just patch up the holes and get on to the next movie. So we looked at that story, and while it wasn't our first choice to tell that story, there were basically two backstories to Kronk, right? There was one where he's helping these kids at camp. He falls in love with Miss Birdwell, and he sacrifices that love in order to do the right thing. And then the other story where he helps these elderly people and sacrifices his own home because his father puts this pressure on him when he was growing up that you always need two things to define your greatness: a house on the hill and a wife. And this movie that we directed is basically Kronk acquired those things, but he had to sacrifice them to do the right thing, ultimately learning to stand up to his father, have pride in who he is, and realize that, you know, even if you don't have your father's approval, you need to have self-respect, self-love. And eventually, spoiler alert, he wins his father's approval with the Lion King soundtrack in the background, which we had to option. I don't know if you remember that. But it was an incredible project. I loved working on it. We worked on it for, I think it was about 2 years. And it became a successful film. I still remember Mark Dindal, the director of the original film, watching our movie. And he walked out and he goes, "You guys did a good job. You guys did a good," like he really liked, he saw the tone that we tried to stand on the shoulders of, that great tone that they established in the first film. A lot of highlights along the way, working with an incredible cast: Patrick Warburton, Eartha Kitt, John Mahoney. Amazing experience.
Awesome. My next question was, what was it like working with Eartha Kitt?
Okay, so Eartha Kitt was highlight of the movie, and I'll send you a picture I have of she and I working together. You can use those if you want. Eartha Kitt was amazing. I'll tell you this. First of all, I'm a big Eartha Kitt fan. A lot of people know her from the Batman series back in the day. I had known her from two things. I had known her from a movie that I loved growing up in the 90s called Boomerang with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. And incredible movie. Robin Givens, Halle Berry, and Eartha Kitt. So I knew her from that movie, one of my favorite, just a great comedy. But the other place I knew her is she starred in a movie that nobody who's listening now has ever heard of. It's called St. Louis Blues, the story of W.C. Handy, the true story of this incredible jazz phenomenon. And this must have been in the, I don't know, 20s or 30s. She must have been in her early 20s herself, young. It starred her, Nat King Cole, Mahalia Jackson, Eartha Kitt has a cameo in it. Just amazing. And I just was starstruck when I met her the first time. Of course, all her voice work from the original film. But one day, we flew to New York to record, and she's in the studio and she's behind the glass, and me and the other director, Elliot, were watching, and she starts to sing that first song, those first notes, and it's falling a little flat. I don't mean like musically it's flat, like she hits the notes, but like the energy's not there. So, one of the things we have is we have this little button that we press where we can talk to the actor or the voiceover. But if we don't press the button, they can't hear what we're saying. So me and Elliot were like, dude, this isn't working. Like, what's wrong? Like, she doesn't have that, incredible quality. Like, what do we do? And the woman next to us was her manager. Her manager is actually her daughter. We didn't know it was her daughter. She heard us speaking openly. Her daughter's name is, get ready, Kit. Right? And
Kit
last
Shapiro.
name, Kit, right?
Yeah,
Kit Shapiro.
And now she's Kit Shapiro, I believe.
That's right. Yeah. And she was incredible. And she hears us speaking and she leans over there. She goes, "I got an idea for you guys. Go into the studio." We're like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Go into the booth." She loves to perform live. So we go into this booth, not a big room, right? We set up 2 chairs. We sit there and we don't make a sound because they could pick up the voices, our sounds, our clothing moving. And she starts to sing, and it was boom, awesome. It was amazing. She came alive because she's a performer. At that point in her life, she used to do a lot of dinner theater and cabarets, and just an amazing thing. And it was just an incredible experience. She took direction wonderfully. She brought so many great ideas. And just on a side note, I just really enjoyed the conversations we had about her experiences working with Nat King Cole. And she was just wonderful. Eartha Kitt was a highlight. Patrick Warburton, on the other hand, of course, people know him from Seinfeld, The Tick, lots, of course, the original films. Elliot and I were huge Seinfeld fans at the time, so just to be able to work with him was amazing. And I'm going to send you a bunch of pictures of us with him from the premiere. You could use if you want. But Patrick was amazing to work with. As a matter of fact, I remember, there was one line that he used to say in Seinfeld that we really loved. It's when he squints his eyes and he goes, "Yeah, that's right." That was like so Patrick, right? Yeah, that's right. So we found a way to cleverly shoehorn that line in the movie so that he would say that line. He was great. He was wonderful. As a matter of fact, at the end of the production, I don't know if you've seen it, but on the DVD extras, there's a cooking up a movie short featurette. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was just great being able to act alongside him. Today, he and I are dear friends. I just talked to him actually a couple days ago. We've worked on many projects. I try to bring him in on every project that I do. I brought him in. I just finished producing Madagascar A Little While, the preschool show with the Madagascar characters for DreamWorks for the last 4.5 years. And of course, I had a role written specifically for him. He did a great job. He's just an amazing guy and one of the sweetest guys ever. I still remember going to his home and he invited us to a barbecue at his home. And I brought my daughter, she must have been, I don't know, a year old. Now she's 18. And I got great pictures of him holding my daughter. He was just so sweet. So
Yeah,
I'll send you those pictures also.
He follows me on Twitter on the podcast account.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. Sometimes you find these celebrities, they don't really embrace the roles, but he really embraced the role and the opportunity. I mean, he grew up a big Disney fan going to Disneyland. I actually host a podcast myself called Life of Awesome. And I've interviewed a lot of these Disney people, including Kronk, Patrick. And his story is amazing. He tells how he just loved Disneyland growing up, and this was like a dream job for him.
And he got to be
some
in a
actors.
ride
What's that?
Soarin'.
Yeah, that's right. He does the voice in Soarin', and he loved that. I remember a couple. I've had a lot of interactions with celebrities that have done voices. One of them, I mean, we're talking 20 years ago. My wife and I went to see Enrique Iglesias and Christina Aguilera in concert. And who was sitting right behind us? I mean, directly behind us, Ellen DeGeneres. But she didn't have the Ellen show yet. She wasn't that big. She was a comedian, and she had just started doing the voice for Finding Nemo for Dora. And for Dory, yeah. And she was just gracious. We were talking to her about that. Did you love it? I loved it. I was so grateful they called. Like, she really embraced it. One celebrity that didn't embrace it. Do you remember an actress named Nell Carter?
No.
She was starring in a show called Give Me a Break. She was a big gospel singer, powerful actress. And I remember I was at Disney at the time in Florida, working on, I think, Hunchback, maybe Mulan. I don't remember exactly. But I had just heard literally the day before that she was cast in the movie Hercules as one of the singers, but she gave it up. She passed on. She didn't want to do it. And I couldn't believe it. Like, who could pass up doing a voice in a Disney movie, right?
Yeah.
Especially a Ron and John film, right? These are the directors that did Little Mermaid, Aladdin. And then it happened to have been the next day. I was at the Disney Beach Club Hotel, and who gets in the elevator next to me? Nell Carter. And I'm like, Nell, nice to meet you, but I got to ask you. I just heard that you passed on Hercules. Like, how could you? And she goes, it just doesn't excite me. That's what she said. It just didn't excite me. I'm like, okay. I said, but it's Disney. I mean, this is Ron and John. She's like, nah, not for me. I'm like, okay. Some people embrace it, some don't.
One thing I wanted to talk about, again, I actually really like I like Kronk's new group. I especially the center of the story about Kronk coming, basically Kronk he who wants to do all these things that generally aren't seen as manly, and
right.
He learns to embrace himself and
that's right,
as friends. Some criticisms I've heard people say is mostly just that a lot of their jokes are the same jokes from the movie.
Right. Oh yeah, I've heard all the criticism. I mean, look,
Okay.
here's the thing. You got to remember, first of all, when you're making a movie, Emperor's New Groove, Mulan, Hunchback, any of those movies, especially, all the experience I have working on those films, I've worked on those films for years. We worked on Mulan for 5 years. The budget of that movie was 80 or $90 million. Kronk's New Groove, when we got brought on, we had 1 year. That's it. And the budget was probably like $8 million. So you're given much less time, much less budget, much less resources. You got to make something great. And they were the sequels. There was those that used to call them the cheapquels at
Yeah.
the time. And for me and Elliot, the other director, we just looked at it as an opportunity to just grow as filmmakers. When Disney offers you a movie, you take it. You don't say, "Hey, it's only $8 million. I'm sorry, I have to wait for the." No, you take it. And we did definitely the best we could, as did our team, to try to come up with something that the fans who love that original tone would love. And then there's also some new stuff. There's a great gag in Kronk's New Groove where Eartha Kitt, Yzma's character, is on this bridge, and all of a sudden, do you remember what comes by? Swoops down and takes her.
Yeah.
It's that eagle. You remember?
Hmm.
Right? Like we had like some jokes in there were very just great. It really, I think, lended itself to the feel and the timing. And by the way, I have to credit the writer. Tom Rogers was the writer of that film. He was incredible to work with, brilliant, very funny. He actually does a really good Kronk voice too. I think he's in the cook up how to cook up a movie thing. You can see him doing, yeah, Kronk, that guy. But yeah, look, you have to remember, like it's you can't really compare to the first because you just don't have the resources. There's definitely a lot of great scenes. I mean, a lot of Kronk fans have written me over the years. They love that he had a love interest. I actually went before this interview and I found a couple of the original drawings to share with you. I can't even believe I still have these. Here's one of the original drawings.
Oh, nice.
And this is Kronk kneading the raisin bread with Miss Birdwell. Miss Birdwell was voiced by Tracy Ullman, incredible to work with. This is an original rough animation drawing from that scene, one of my favorite. And in this sequence, the dance sequence, here's a couple more I'll show you. This is really one of my favorite sequences. This is when he's doing all the dances, if you remember, yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, these have never been shown publicly. No one's ever, other than the movie, these have never been out there. But for this sequence, Elliot, the co-director, and I, this is when Kronk is wearing the glove, the cooking glove, like Michael Jackson. We
Yeah.
did the Thriller. He gets up on his knees. Here you go. So Elliot and I, we did all the dance reference ourselves for this movie. So when I look at these drawings, I always remember Elliot and I acting out all these scenes. And if you ever watch How to Cook Up a Movie, and if you put any footage, you'll be able to see him and I acting out all these scenes. Really, really an incredible experience.
Yeah.
Really, really a super
I
fun experience.
also trying to remember the other thing I was gonna say. It was something I liked, but I don't remember what it was. Uh,
I got to say also, like, I got to give credit to our team
yeah.
on these. It's kind of like, I think
Oh,
there's
I
a scene.
remember now.
Oh yeah,
I
tell me.
think, sorry, I think, some people say it's because again, it didn't have as much of a budget, but I think honestly, compared to some of the other sequels I've seen, the animation in Bronx the Groove is pretty good. Pretty good. It's pretty
Yeah,
close to the feel of the first one.
we really had great artists. It was animated in the Philippines, most of it, and other scenes were animated in Toronto. We had some great supervising animators on it. Like I said, we had the original art director from the original films back, and we really tried to be as focused and as close to the original sensibility as we could. Some great scenes. I still remember, Tony Bancroft, who's a dear friend of mine for years. He was supervising
Mine
animator of
too.
Kronk.
I mean,
Yeah,
to some degree, yeah.
yeah, great guy. He was the supervising animator, and ultimately he designed Kronk. It's really his character, one of his best. He did Kronk and of course Pumbaa from Lion King, as you know. But Tony was also really happy with the movie, and it's also like when you guys watch these movies, you remember where you were in your life. You remember that time in your life. I mean, like Micah, how old were you when that movie came out?
Kronk's New Groove.
Yeah.
Um, it came out in December, so I think I would have been 11, maybe.
Right. So there you are, 11-year-old, right? Seeing
Yeah.
that movie. And for me, I had literally just been married like a year or two, had our first kid. It was one of the most exciting times of my life. I still never forget going to the studio when we had a 50-piece orchestra doing the score for the movie and or hearing the themes the first time from Mark Waters was the composer. And just an incredible time in my life. I really was pretty grateful for that. I can actually show you. I'll show you a couple of pictures real quick. Let's see. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Okay.
Hmm.
Here we go. Oh, I think you have to let me share.
I have to figure out how to do that.
If you go, open up that window there next to my name, you can make me a host. Tell me if you see that. Let's see. Oh, you
Okay.
did it. Yep, you did it. So here's some photos. This is from the premiere. Let's see what we have here. I haven't looked at these in years. So this
Oh,
is from.
Jaws. Sorry.
Oh yeah, Jaws, my favorite movie.
My I mean, it's other than the Emperor's New Groove, it's mine too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, then you'll appreciate this then. I'm sure you probably have this yourself. Yeah.
No, I honestly don't have a lot of Jaws stuff,
Look how incredible this is,
but
dude.
that is awesome.
Came out like 2 years ago. I mean, it's totally on model.
Yeah.
It looks just like Robert Shaw. It's amazing. Yeah, incredible. Yeah, so let's see what we have here. This is at the premiere with Patrick. That's Elliot on the left. We were just three goofballs having the best time making the movie. There's another one. That's my little daughter visiting me in the office. Now she's 18. More from the premiere. That was the Disney Studios then.
Mhm.
That's the Kronk's New Groove premiere, me and my mom. There's another one with Patrick. Boy, I can't believe how young we all look then. It's crazy. This is the final, one of the final days. Let's see. Walt Disney Studios. One of the things that we do before a movie is the directors get up and you thank the team that made it. And that was us getting up to speak. That's Tom Rogers. He's the writer. That's all of us. And that's our producer, John Smith on the left. Great guy. So more from the premiere. David Spade came by. That was awesome.
And
You can
David
take all
Spade and
these.
Patrick Warburton have worked together a few times.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Boy, where do the years go, dude?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Just
Here we are.
I always wanted to see like a lot of these direct to video sequels, like what it would be like seeing them in a theater with a big screen.
Yeah. Oh, that was just a highlight. I mean, my dream was to be a director at Disney, and I just got to live that dream, and it was an incredibly proud moment of my life. And like I said, just working with great people. Let's see if I have anything else that's special here. Here we go. Boy, where did the years go? So we have that. We also have oh, there's a bunch of hidden things in the movie. You want to hear some fun stuff? Here you
Sure.
go. So this is a scene where that's Elliot, that's me. We are hidden in the crowd there. I guess it's not so hidden, but there's us in the movie. That was fun. And let's see. Oh, let's see if you see what I hid in this scene.
Um, Orca. Yeah,
How cool is that, dude?
I never noticed that before.
I totally forgot about that. I'm like, I had to get something Jaws in that movie. I'm like, all right, we'll
I
call their canoe.
actually, I actually snuck Jaws into this document. Found a way to sneak a Jaws reference into this documentary. Do you want to know how?
Tell me, yeah.
So when The Emperor's New Groove came out, there was another movie that was also set in South America from a rival studio, and Jaws technically has a cameo in that animated movie. It's called The Road to El Dorado,
Yeah.
and there's a scene, and because it's DreamWorks was founded partly by Spielberg, I think they snuck Jaws in there in one
Oh
scene.
yeah. Yeah. I just saw that scene too, like a couple months ago. My daughter showed me it, and I'd seen the El Dorado film when it came out, but I hadn't seen it since. And yeah, got to get Jaws into the movies, right, brother?
Yeah.
And also in the very beginning, there's the clapper that goes
Mhm.
by when you see him,
I
and
do remember that.
it says our names on there, which is pretty cool. But one of the other fun little stories is if you see this woman over here holding a baby, well, that's my wife. And at the time, she was pregnant with our first kid. The art director was asking me what color to make the blanket, but we didn't have the kid yet, and we didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl. So I said, when can I tell you whether to make it blue or pink? And she gave me the date. I'm like, I think my daughter's gonna be. I think my wife will give birth by then. So sure enough, she gave birth a daughter, and like the next day, I called the artist. I'm like, make it pink. And so you see it
Make
in the
it
movie.
pink.
That's right. Oh, Sleeping Beauty, right? Make it blue. The other thing that happened is after this scene, there's a cutaway when everyone stands up and they clap. And when I was watching the scene, I noticed my wife stood up, but she didn't have the baby. So the animator said, "Well, it's hard for me. What do I do with the baby? You can't put the baby down." I'm like, "No, no, you got to have her holding the baby, or my wife's going to kill me." So she went back and she put her in there. That's the scene. She said she just put it on the lap. You see.
Yeah.
So that was fun. There's a couple other hidden things in the movie. One is there's a scene where Kronk gets married, and he's standing under a Jewish wedding canopy known as a chuppah, right? And there's the rabbi, and there's a scene there's a in customary in Jewish weddings where you step on the glass. The groom steps on the glass, and everyone screams out Mazel Tov. And if you watch the movie, you will see he does that. And this wedding canopy is the exact one from our wedding. So it has the calla lily flowers and the prayer shawl up here, and everything that I'd given the artist from my wedding album that year. So that was a way to get something of my Jewish faith into the movie.
And now Disney just like embraces the heck out of that with Kronk,
Yeah, and
like on
making
their Twitter.
challah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really cool. And I'll send you. I have a picture of this, and I have a picture of me and my wife from our wedding that I usually show when I tell this. This is when Kronk came out. This was us at the Disney store, just coming over and doing a signing of the DVD.
Those are still around, but they're not the same as they used to be.
No, they're not the same, right?
Yeah.
So that was fun. I'll just show you since you're a Winnie the Pooh fan. In this Winnie the Pooh Halloween movie that we directed, I hid Jaws right there too.
Oh, nice.
The
I'll have
cave.
to, I'm sure that's on Disney Plus. I'll have to watch.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. We hit a lot of things in the movies back then. It was pretty cool. Winnie the Pooh was our first. So yeah, Kronk was just an incredible experience, and it was just a great experience for testing out comedy, and giving heart. Especially the end sequence when his father gives him that thumbs up. That sequence took a lot of work just to get the right shots, the right camera moves. And also when Miss Birdwell returns at the end and climbs the stairs, and there's that moment. And I remember finessing that scene in the storyboards and the animation and with the composer just over and over again to make sure the emotions of that scene just play as poignantly as they can. And with those movies, you got to have a little bit of heart.
Yeah.
It's a comedy, but you got to have a little bit of substance. And I think Kronk really is the heart of those movies. You
Yes.
love him.
Yeah.
He's an idiot, but he's a lovable one.
I also love that like the theme and message is kind of like a good parallel, kind of opposite from. So the first movie is Cusco learning not to be quite the same himself that he was because he was a jerk. But this is Kronk's already a nice guy, so he's just learning to embrace who he already is.
That's right.
So his new groove is basically just embracing himself.
Right. And by the way, I'm sure you know all the details of Emperor's New Groove and Sting and how the music was
Oh
shut
yeah,
down. I see.
that's like the first 15 minutes of the because
Right.
there was already a feature length documentary about it, so I don't want to spend too much time on it.
Right. Yeah. Sting's white. But I remember at the studio when Roger Allers came to the studio and he showed us the animatic of Kingdom of the Sun. I remember it vividly. And we all thought it was great. I mean, it really was a lot like Aladdin. You
Yeah,
know, it felt like that kind of a story. It felt, I think even Alan Menken was doing the music for it, if I remember. I
thought
guess,
Sting was doing the music for me.
yeah, no, you're right. Sting was always on board. I thought Alan was first, but yeah. And yeah, he had a whole screening, and literally, I don't know, a week or two later, the plug was pulled, and it was a very, very risky thing to do. You know, I don't think Roger Allers ever got over it completely.
Yeah,
You know, and I can tell you as a filmmaker who's had a couple of movies shut down along the way,
yeah,
each one is your baby.
yeah,
And it's a hard thing as an artist because when you're a kid growing up, you have a blank piece of paper and you have a crayon. You could draw whatever you want, you could create whatever you want. But as you get older, you know, and it costs $90 million today, $250 million to make a movie, you got to convince a studio why they should invest that in your vision and in your story. And especially when you begin a project and you're in it for a year and then the plug gets pulled. That happened to me and Elliot on our first project, Winnie the Pooh, while we were writing for, I don't know, 8 months. The executive just wasn't behind the story. We rewrote a story, a new story, and made, thank God, a successful movie out of that rewrite. Kronk's New Groove, like I said, it was a previous director on, just didn't have the right story, didn't have the right sensibilities. You know, you have to have very comedic timing to be able to tell these movies. I mean, I remember being in meetings where we were talking about, you know, holding how long is a beat? You know, is it 6 frames? Is it 8 frames? A comedic beat, you know, is it, yeah,
yeah,
that's right. Or is it, yeah, that's right. There's a
yeah,
difference. One has
yeah,
a pause, one doesn't. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. Right. One makes you laugh and one makes you go, oh, interesting. So, you know, really playing with humor and making sure that the comedic timing and, you know, Elliot and I, we grew up with Bugs Bunny and Tex Avery and Warner Brothers cartoons and that
Yeah,
timing, and then of course The Simpsons had its own unique tone and
and there's
timing.
I think, some nods to the Looney Tunes in Kronk's New Groove,
Oh yeah, you can see our inspiration in there. Yeah, there's
which is
definitely
good
some nods.
because the first movie also had like and was also very influenced by Looney Tunes as
Right.
well.
Yeah. So it is a great experience. And you know, one of the messages that I always tell people about this movie and other movies is like every movie as a filmmaker is another experience to grow. You know, to grow as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, and as a human being. You know, leadership is a very difficult thing. And, you know, people think, oh, director, cool job. Yeah, it's a cool job, but it's also a very heavy job. You know, everything rides on your shoulders and your vision, not just creatively, but also how you manage people. How do you inspire a team? How do you impact a team? You know, so all of those experiences for me personally were really profound through the making of Kronk's New Groove. And that's why I'll always look back at that experience with a lot of gratitude and a lot of smiles. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Any other questions or,
Um,
and
I do want to know.
if you need anything from me while you're making your film, don't forget to just call and I'll be happy to, you know, send
Um,
anything or share.
I the what in how do I want to ask this? Basically, what I want to ask is about the idea of having Cusco like come in, especially at the beginning, and say, "This is Crocs movie, not my movie," and then
Personally, you remember the movie better than me, man. I haven't seen it in a long time. Yeah, not mine, his, mine, his, mine,
yeah,
his, right. So originally, he wasn't in the movie. We had a screening for some kids, and the kids were like, "Oh, we miss Cusco." And so we basically sat with the writer, and in like, I don't know, 2 hours, we brainstormed how do we get him in the movie? Oh, we'll do these little interstitials, right? We'll have him start out the movie. We'll come back to him just to because the kids wanted to see him.
yeah,
And I can tell you, working with David Spade was amazing. He's brilliant. I mean, I think half of the lines he came up with himself right then and there. You know, as writers, you always want the actors to do in what we say is as written, like do it as we written in the script.
yeah.
But But when you have an actor like David Spade and Patrick, for that matter, you gotta let them do what they do. So it was great to get him in there. By the way, one of the other incredible actors on this film is the late John Mahoney.
Yeah.
People know him from Frasier. I grew up watching him in movies like Say Anything. Out of all the actors I've ever worked with in my life, and I've worked with a lot of them, nobody was as humble and wonderful as him.
So
Like
wait.
what? Yeah.
Oh, continue what you're saying. I'll tell
No, I
you.
was just gonna say, yeah, he was incredible, incredible
Also,
human being.
this and I think, and so that was the Halloween movie you did. Pooh's Halloween movie.
Yeah, that's right.
I think both of these were the last John Fielder movies.
They were the last John Fiedler movies. Yeah,
So
you're
I did
absolutely
at
right.
the time when I found that out, I did not know they were by the same.
Yeah, that was a huge. I can't believe you know that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was a huge honor.
My friend
Um,
Tony has a podcast, and I think they covered Pooh's Heflunt movie, and they were talking about it. They looked it up to see what his last movies were, and that was what came up.
I can't believe you know that.
And
Yeah.
Tony's actually in the documentary. Tony Goldmark.
Oh, cool.
He he gives his thoughts on Kronk's New Groove, which I don't exactly agree with, but
That's okay. That's okay. Look, it's not for everyone. I know it doesn't compete with the original. You
well,
know,
yeah.
I get that.
How would you?
But
How
all
would you
right, yeah.
compete with the original?
Yeah, you can't, right? You can't. Yeah. Like I said, a great experience, great team. What would we have liked to have rewritten a brand new original movie? Oh yeah, absolutely. But we weren't given that opportunity. Like I said, when Disney gives you an opportunity, you take it. And actually, because of the success of Kronk's New Groove, and it was successful financially for the company on DVD, because of that, Elliot and I were given the biggest movie of our lives to direct, which eventually fell through. We were asked to direct the sequel to Monsters Incorporated. Disney was going through a very difficult time.
Was Circle Seven movie?
Circle Seven, you know your stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Circle Seven was just getting going, and we were given a treatment for Finding Nemo 2 and Monsters Incorporated 2. And we read them and wrote up all our notes and pitched our notes and what stories we wanted to tell. And we were given Monsters Incorporated. I still remember going in front of the Team Disney building with the Seven Dwarfs, picking up my cell phone and calling my wife, literally in tears, that my dream was coming true. I wanted to direct a theatrical Disney movie, and especially to be given one of those. Eventually, as you know, Circle Seven got shut down. Roy Disney and Michael Eisner were butting heads. It didn't happen. John Lasseter ended up coming back to the studio, took over Disney Animation. Ron and John were hired back, and it was shut down. And eventually I moved on to television as a director on Doc McStuffins, which was a big Disney show at the time. And that really got me into the preschool world. But yeah, Kronk's New Groove, even to this day, there are scenes where I'm just very proud of some of the sequences, some of the comedy in them. There's a great scene I love. I'll show you real quick. This is actually my favorite. It's on my website. Are you allowed to show some of that Disney footage or no?
Am I allowed to? I don't know, but I am.
All right, good. You should. You should. As long
I
as you put.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna make the argument that because it's for the most part educational, that it's fair use, but I don't know if it
Yeah,
actually.
I think it could be. Yeah. This is here we go. This is my favorite scene. Still.
Little did I know my life was about to be changed forever. If only there'd been some kind of warning, a sign, anything. Oh, you're a feisty one. Hold still now. Oh. Huh? All right. Where'd you go, you little rascal?
Looking for this. Hello, Kronk.
Yzma! What are you doing here?
I live here ever since I was thrown out of the palace.
Ah, weird. Never seen you around.
Haha, but I've seen you, Kronk.
Oh, you look good.
you think?
Well, at least you're not a cat anymore. Except for that.
Yes. An unfortunate side effect of our last escapade.
Did you catch that shot right there?
Yeah, good time.
No,
You know?
no, I don't think I did.
Let me show
Like,
you.
did I catch?
I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to show you all the fun hidden stuff there. Here we go. Let's see. Hold on. 1 second. Let's see. Here we go. 1 second.
But I like that. In this movie, Yzma's basically a Catwoman.
Yeah, exactly. We got to make her the Catwoman that she originally started out at, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let me get this. I forgot about all this. Let's see. Here we go. 1 second. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, sharing screen. Boom. Remember the movie The Graduate? Watch.
Oh, yeah.
So?
See it?
Yeah.
That was all right. Because she's like seducing him in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Opening up your personal life to me and tell me your husband won't be home for hours?
So?
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
There's the shot. That's our homage to The Graduate. With their tail.
Escapade together.
Yeah, good time.
I always wonder if people watching will get any of that.
I feel like I might have at some point, or maybe I heard someone else talk about it. I don't know.
Yeah,
But I
all kinds of stuff you do. All kinds
Yeah.
of hidden stuff. But this scene was just a really fun scene to work on. Yeah, great times. When is your documentary coming out?
March 3rd on YouTube.
Oh, great. So if you need anything else along the way, any email, any pictures and stuff, remind me and I'll send you whatever you need. Okay.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Or are you good?
I think I'm good.
Cool. Well, appreciate you letting me be a part of your project and wishing you lots of continued success, Micah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, be well.
You too. Bye.
Thanks.